Hey guys, I'm Brianna, welcome back to my channel. So today I have my June wrap up for you guys. This month I read a total of 31 books and it is only June 22nd when I'm filming this, so I still have a little bit of the month to go, but I figured I read so much and I have a lot to cover and I'm showing you all the books. So yeah, I had a crazy reading month. A lot of them were actually really good reads. I think majority of my ratings have been a 4 or above. But yeah, so I read a total of 8 Kindle books. And I'm actually going to show you guys what I'm reading right now. So the first Kindle book is The Fractured Heart by Scarlett Cole. That one I'm about 20% of the way through, and that is the second book in a series about a tattoo romance. And the next book I'm reading is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and I've just barely started it. It's a crazy long book. Like, look how huge this book is. But I've been patiently waiting for this book. It came out in January, and I just knew I wouldn't have time to read it until the summer, and then people were taking it from the library, so I was like, okay, let me do this. And it's just so expensive in stores, so I was like, let me just get it from the library and read it. But yeah, this is a chunker, so I only have it for 2 weeks and I'll hopefully get through it, but I'm only reading like a little bit every day just because of how big it is. Okay, so the first Kindle book I read was The Perfect First by Maya Hugh. This one I gave a 4.5 out of 5. This is book 1 of the Fulton U series. So this book I thought was really great. It's a college romance through and through. So basically the girl wants to do a whole bunch of firsts and she feels like she hasn't been doing college the right way. She's been very shy and she ends up interviewing a whole bunch of, like, she puts out an ad and then people show up and she interviews them, and he is kind of there but not for that interview, so they kind of just, they don't really click, but they kind of click. And it's all about that, and it was just really good overall. I loved it, and I cannot wait for the next 2 books in the series. I think it's gonna be a great series, and I really loved Maya Hughes' writing, so I think that would be really interesting. The next book I read was The Hookup Experiment by Emma Hart. This is book 1 in a series, I think, as well. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5. I did have some resolves with it. I did feel like some of it just, it could have been cut out, if that makes sense. She kind of just put it in there to put it in there, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll read it. But basically it's this girl that has a dating website but for hookups. So it's basically a hookup website and she owns it. And then she makes a bet with her brother on how she can go on it, and sleeping with someone won't have feelings. It's like a whole big thing. But I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 out of 5. So yeah. This next book was a complete surprise to me because I did not know she was writing more books in the series, and I really love this series. And this is the How to Date a Douchebag series by Sarah Ney. This is book 5. This is The Lying Hours, and if you don't know, basically the premise of this is they are on the university's wrestling team, and that hits home to me because, one, you never see sports romances with wrestling. It's normally baseball, basketball, football, sometimes soccer. Am I forgetting anything else? Yeah, those are like the core 4 sports. But I wrestled in high school, and to see a book about that, it's really awesome. But this was book 5, and I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love this book. So basically, this one also has a dating app involved with it. There's a lot of messaging in this novel, and so they're both on the university's dating app, and he pretends to be his roommate because his roommate he doesn't really know what he wants, but he just broke up with his girlfriend. It's like a whole big thing. So he ends up meeting this girl on the app, and they talk, but he's talking through his roommate. So then the roommate goes on the date, and it's all about that, but really he ends up liking the girl. And honestly, it was a great book. It was so, like, a nowadays book, if that makes sense. Like, it was just really like how the world is today. Oh my goodness, the next book's not loading. The next book I read was Soul in Darkness by Wendy Higgins. I can try and get the cover up for you guys if it loads. Wendy Higgins, if you do not know, she also wrote the Sweet Evil series, which I absolutely adore. Those books are amazing. Those are YA books. This was a Roman mythology retelling. So this talked about Cupid and I don't know how to pronounce the girl's name, but it's all about her. This is the cover. I loved this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5. And honestly, this book was just really good overall. I love the Roman mythology. And my sister actually read The Real Myth, and she did say it kind of was very similar to The Real Myth. But Wendy Higgins definitely put her own spin on it. And I just really enjoyed her books like I normally always do. I'm just gonna not stop pulling up the covers, but I'll like show it because it's taking so much time. But the next book I read was Boyfriend Bargain by Isla Madam Mill, which is this book right there. This one I gave a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It had sports in it, but it wasn't pitched as a sports romance. It's a really it's more of somewhat of college romance, but kind of more about a relationship and how a relationship develops. The next book I read was Pestilence by Lauren Thalassa, which is the book right next to it. That one I gave a 4 out of 5 as well. This is the first book in the Horseman series, the Four Horsemen series, and I've heard so many people talking about it, and I thought this book was from 2012 and it was just getting so much hype, but no, it was written in 2017 and the new book is coming out this summer, and I was like, why haven't I heard it? I don't know, it was just weird. I thought it was older than it actually was, so that was a whole big thing. But yeah, it was a great book. It was a little weird, and the relationship was definitely kind of like a Beauty and the Beast type relationship where she gets kidnapped and it's a whole big thing. I don't know. It was okay, but I did like the concept of it and just learning more about that. The next book I read was Lock and Key by Kat Porter, if I can pull it up. Oh, it's a different cover. It's that one right there. That one I gave a 4 out of 5. This is a motorcycle romance, and I read it because it was free, and Jess from Peace Love Books recommended it, so I was like, okay, might as well. And overall it was pretty good. I don't really have too much to say about it. And then the last one I read was On the Rocks by Candy Steiner. I give this one a 4 out of 5, and the reason being is I just really wasn't a huge fan of this small town romance. And I don't know if it's because for me, I'm not really from a small town, so I couldn't relate to it as much. But besides that aspect, I loved how it was in Tennessee. Tennessee whiskey was the big thing in that, and I thought it was so cute how she incorporated that. The relationship was really good, the plotline was really good, and she set up the series so well because it's all about brothers now, so each brother is gonna get a book, and she just set it up superb, and I just really enjoyed Candy Steiner's writing. I really miss her Palm South University series, so I cannot wait to continue this and go on with it. But yeah, Candy's come out with a lot of books, and she's experimenting in a whole bunch of different romance genres, which I really enjoy. Okay, so on to my physical copies. The first one I read was The Dating Game by Kylie Roche. I gave this a 3 out of 5. I was very disappointed with this. Honestly, just very disappointed. I may go back and change my rating, to be honest, now thinking about it, but this is a college book, and it's all about these 3 students in a business class that team up, and they decide for their project they're going to create a dating app for their campus. But the issue with the dating app is it's more about looks and how you get rated on the app than actually forming relationships. It's more about keeping up your status and all that stuff. But I don't know, I just wasn't a huge fan of it, and it just lost, it didn't feel college, it didn't feel as, realistic to me, and I really enjoyed, I really enjoyed Frat Girl more than this. I don't know if I talked about this in my May wrap-up. I may have, but I'm putting it in here anyway. Okay, so the next book I read was Hot Shot Doc by R.S. Gray, and I think this was my favorite book this month. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I loved this book so much. It was just so good. Like, everything about this book, go pick it up. If you guys love Grey's Anatomy, rom-coms, R.S. Grey, just pick up this book. This is my favorite book I've read by her so far, and it was just so good. So basically, it's about a nursing assistant, like a surgical nursing assistant. So she's like the right hand of the doctor who hands him the instruments in surgery, hands him or her. And the doctor that she's worked with forever is leaving. So her only option is to work with the doctor that everyone hates because no one gets along with him, or to switch units, and she doesn't want to switch units because she's been working there for a while. She also takes care of her younger sister, and it's like all about that. But this book is just so good. Like, it was just so good. I was laughing this whole book. There were so many things that were so funny. I did cry, I think, once or twice. Honestly, this book was just so good. And I'm going to really keep reading R.S. Grey because she's a new queen in my life. The next book I read was Released by Lucia Franco. This is book 3 in the now 5-book series. It was originally 4, but she extended it to be 5 books. This one I gave a 3.5 out of 5, and I really was disappointed with this one. I don't know. I do feel like... Okay, so this one has a lot more of her gymnastics career, which I did enjoy in it, but it was just so... The romance was just really weird, and it was just lacking, and I don't know. Again, I had mixed feelings with the first book. I'm not a huge forbidden romance person. It's just not really my genre. But this one... There was just no progression in it for me. It was very back and forth. I don't really like Adriana's character. She's just very, very immature, especially for a 16-year-old. Like, I feel like she's just so immature. And you see growth with her throughout the book, but I don't know. This one just wasn't my favorite, but I'm reading the series, so I have to continue it. But book 4, I think, comes out in September. The next book I read, and this is an exciting announcement that I have for you guys, but the next one was Fumbled by Alexa Martin. This is book 2 in, I think it's the Playbook series, if I'm not mistaken. But this series has been optioned for a TV show, and I'm very excited. I think it's just getting its script written right now. There's no casting yet, but if you don't know, these are football romances. The author is actually the wife of an NFL football player who I think is retired now, but it takes off of some of her experiences and just like stories in general that are realistic that would happen to an NFL's player's wife or girlfriend, whatever. But this one was super good. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Honestly, these books are really good. They're fun reads. They have football in it, and just really good. The next book I read was Fight or Flight by Samantha Young. I finally read this book. The first time I got it, it took me a couple tries to get into it, but this is a rom-com by Samantha Young. It's about a woman who meets this Scottish man on a flight, and they hate each other. Like, they hate each other. And I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5, and it did take me a little bit to get through the book. It wasn't as good as her other books that she's written, but I mean, it was a decent read. It had a Scottish guy in it, so I think that picked it up. But it was just very back and forth, and they hate each other, and then all of a sudden it's just like, ooh, I love you. And I was like, it was just weird, and I don't know. I also don't think I could connect with them just because they were older. They were in their late 20s, early 30s, and I'm not that old yet, so I haven't really experienced that part of my life. So I think I just had trouble connecting to the characters, but overall, it was an okay romance. These kind of remind me of Christina Lauren books, this one, so if you like her, I would check this one out. The next one I read and I really, really loved. I gave this a 5 out of 5, and this is Puppy Love by Lucy Gilmore. I can't wait for the rest of this series. The next one comes out in the winter, I think. But this is book 1, and it's all about a service dog matching center. So basically these sisters, 3 of them own this, I guess, shelter, you could say, but it's a shelter for service dogs, and each service dog is specific to a certain disability and can help someone. So they basically are in charge of matching the service dog to what disability they can help out and then to that person. So I thought this was really cool because this is about a diabetic firefighter. So it's all about him needing a service dog to go and do that. But he's like a wild firefighter, so he does like the wildfires, and he's gone like 6 months out of the year. Mainly they work out of like California and the West Coast. But this was honestly a great book. I loved the dogs in here. I loved the romance. I just really liked the concept, and it was really interesting to see a service dog for diabetes, just because you don't really see that as often. You normally see service dog for if you're blind, you're deaf, emotional support dog. That's really what is common. But this book was just so good. I just loved it so much, and you can't go wrong with puppies. Okay, so the next book I'm not really going to say a lot about because I have a review up, but this is Again But Better by Christine Riccio. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. This is my lowest rated book. I will leave my review down below, a link to it, but it should be the video right before this one if you guys are interested. I reviewed it just because Christine's a popular booktuber, but this book was not for me, and I unfortunately didn't really like it. The next book I read was Sick F.U.X. by Tillie Cole. This one I gave a 4 out of 5. Very interesting. I think that's the big word. This book was just really interesting. It was kind of different than what Tillie Cole writes. So it's basically about this girl and guy who were super young when they first met, and she kind of lives on this like nice mansion house, and he is the groundskeeper's son, and they kind of form this weird friendship at first, and it's just a weird book, but like it was good. Like if you like dark books, you'll like this one, and it's Tillie Cole, so like I enjoyed the writing. It's just like I wasn't a huge fan of it like her other books, but I can say she is writing a book 2. There are 2 other characters in here that you meet when he's older, and I can't really tell you too much because there's spoilers, but I think they're both getting books, so I'm excited to see that. But it was interesting. That's what I can say about this one. The next book I read was Under Lock by Mariana Zapata. This one I gave a 4 out of 5. I didn't like this one as much as her other books. I enjoyed it. So this is about like a motorcycle group, and she ends up finding work. Her half brother gets her a job to be the receptionist in a tattoo shop, and her and the tattoo owner obviously are gonna end up falling in love. But I don't know, it wasn't like the best book out there. I felt like the plot twist was kind of just thrown in there. It was weirdly placed. I wasn't really expecting that, and I think for me it just didn't fit right. But I mean I did enjoy it. It's Mariana Zapata. Her books are like very the one thing I can say about her that I always love is her relationships in books are true relationships. They're like very drawn out, and I forgot the word of it, but slow burn. They're very slow burn, but that is what a true relationship is, not all the oh my god I love you type of books, but I read them anyway because they're good. But off topic. So that's what I thought about this one. The next one I read was Rhapsodic by Lauren Thalassa. So I read 2 books of hers. This is book 1 in her series. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. It was very interesting. This is more of a fantasy type of read. There is a romance in it as well. But, I mean, overall it was pretty good. I don't know if I'll continue on to the series. I mean, it was interesting, but I don't think it was interesting enough for me to continue on. But this one was also recommended to me by Jessica from Peace Love Books. Then I read Lick and Play by Kylie Scott. Lick was a reread and Play was my first time reading. I gave both of them a 3.5 out of 5. I also don't know if I'll continue on with the series. These are rock star romances, as you can see by the drumstick and the guitar. They were kind of lighthearted. They were like rom-coms. I actually read both of them at the beach. I took these to the beach with me. But they were okay. They were like quick reads, but they weren't like the best structured books out there. Then I finally finished Midnight's Promise by Donna Grant. This is book 8. This is the last book in the Dark Warrior series. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5. I didn't connect with this one as much, and this one just took me, sorry for the lighting, the sun keeps going behind the clouds, but this one just took me a while to read, and I don't know, it was okay, but it was a nice ending to the series. I liked how it ended and how I continue on to the next thing. Okay, so all these books are by Donna Grant. So this is the Dark King series. This is the 3rd series that connects in this whole setup. So the first book is Dark Heat. This is 4 prequels in here. So it talks about 3 characters. Ooh, it got so dark. It talks about 3 characters and how they fall in love. But I just really loved these just because they're in Scotland and dragons are involved. And I didn't realize how much I would enjoy dragons compared to these books, because I think honestly they're kind of my new favorite mystical creature, because I used to be super into fae, but now dragons are getting me. So book 1 is Darkest Flame. This is Kellen's story. I gave this a 5 out of 5. A great setup to a first novel story. Honestly, like, this is one of my favorite opening books for a series I've ever read. It was just a wonderful setup, and it wasn't too much information, but it wasn't too much plot, too much romance. It was just a perfect mix of everything, and I just really enjoyed this one. Then we have Fire Rising. This is book 2. This is Tristan's book. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. Then we have Burning Desire. This is book 3. This is Kirill's book. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 as well. Hot Blooded is book 4. This is Leif's book. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 as well. Knight's Blaze is probably my favorite one in the series so far. It's either this one or Thorne's book. This is Reese's book, and I just loved this one. There were so many plot twists. There were just, so much stuff. I really enjoyed this one. Book 6 is Soul Scorched. This one is Warwick's book. This one I gave a 3 out of 5, and I think a main part of it is literally nothing happened plot-wise that was, like, good in this book. I felt like this is kind of a filler book to me, so I think that was my one issue with this one. Then she also has the 1001 Dark Nights novellas. So this one's 6.5. This is Arian's prequel, and it was really cute. I really wish she wrote this one as a full-length novel, just because I really like the concept, and I loved Grace's character. Grace is the woman he ends up mating with, but this one I gave a 4.5. I just wish she wrote this one as a novel. Then we have book 7, which is Passion Ignites. This is, I gave 5 out of 5. This one's Thorne's book. I really loved Thorne's book. I loved his character. Him and Reese are very similar, so maybe that's why I did enjoy them both, but this book was just a really great novel. And the last one I've read so far is book 8, Smoldering Hunger. This I gave also a 3 out of 5. This was Darius's book, and again, plot-wise, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I read it. And right now, I think there's 15 books out. Yes, there's 15 books out right now. The 16th book comes out in October, and the series, like, is still continuing. She shows no signs of stopping. So I'm kind of taking a little break right now, and I'm gonna try and read Pride of the Orange Tree, and then I'll go back to the Dragon King series, because I have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I have 7 books, and then 2, 3 prequels. So I have all that. But yeah, this was a super long video, and I apologize in advance, but I did read 31 books this month. I hope you guys enjoyed that wide variety of books, and I did read a lot of my TBR this month, which I'm super happy about. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!